We're inspecting the electrics on this property and we've come across a big surprise. You're not going to believe what we found at this commercial EICR. And the worst thing is, this is our own property, so the faults we found are going to cost us a fortune to fix. It's a bit bizarre. EICR fail right here is absolutely doing my nutting, and there's actually a big hole in there. I found something. How the heck are you supposed to get to that? That's crazy. So here's the main position, and the first thing that we need to look at is the main incoming supply, which is here. So we've got a 3-phase supply, first of all, because we've got 3 main fuses here. And on here, there's a label saying, warning, protective multiple earthed installation. So it's what we call a TNCS system, which is where the neutral and earth are combined. And you can see that here in this neutral block. Basically, the main earth comes off the neutral block. So that's a TNCS supply. What we do basically is we systematically work our way through the installation, follow the tails, we record the sizes of all the cables, we check the main bonding, which we'll have a look at, and then we're going to go through circuit by circuit and check all of the circuits within these 2 distribution boards. So we've got a new helper for a few days. This is Jacob.
Hi.
He is a potential new apprentice, so we're trying him out for a few days this week with a bit of work experience. And Jacob, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get these suspended ceiling tiles down neatly, put them on the pallet, and then we can access all of the electrics above and we can go through and check everything.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I would say never give an apprentice a job that you can't do yourself or aren't willing to do yourself. So I thought I'd give it a little shot myself, but it's actually trickier than it looks because all of these conduits are basically really tight up against the suspended ceiling, so I don't know how they quite managed to get all the suspended ceiling tiles in neatly, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a squeeze getting these out, I think. Good challenge. The trouble is they put a wire at both ends, so you can't shuffle it that way or this way. There we go. This is when I find out that the building that I've bought is full of holes. I think I found an EICR fail right here. So alarm bells did ring slightly when the previous owner said to me that he'd done all of the trunking and conduit work himself. But I thought, you know what, he's a carpenter, so he's used to like millimeter precision, right? So I kind of trusted that he'd done a good job. And to be honest, the drops of the pipe work looked fairly decent. I kind of just trusted him, and starting to doubt whether that was a good idea now because there's massive great holes in here. It looks like someone's taken a shotgun to this trunking, which is not ideal. So here's a sneak preview of our future video studio where we're going to be shooting a ton of content for our YouTube channel, for other clients as well. And we've got an exciting announcement because we're just about to launch the 2nd cohort of our YouTube for Trades masterclass. It is literally a masterclass in how to start, run and grow a successful YouTube channel to grow your trades business. So if you're looking to get high quality, pre-qualified leads that approach your business regularly, who already know, like and trust you, YouTube is such a powerful tool to do that. Our business is the proof in the pudding because 95% of our clients come from our YouTube videos. And if you'd like to do the same for your business, we're here to teach you how. There's a link below where you can join the waiting list and find out more. So our first test is our ZE, which stands for External Earth Fault Loop Impedance. And what we're testing here is basically the earth fault loop path from here back to the transformer. So to do that, we have to turn the power off. We have to disconnect the main earthing conductor, which means we're going to need to take the cover off this. First of all, let me know your guesses in the comments below. Out of 10, how neat is this board going to be? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, well, I must say I'm pleasantly surprised. For a board that was done 21 years ago, looks to have been done with some semblance of pride. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which is quite unusual, really. They usually get below 5, in my opinion. ZE test, we've got this main earth here, which goes into the main earth terminal there. So for safety, what we've got to do is disconnect the main earthing conductor. If we don't turn all of the power off and we disconnect the main earthing conductor, suddenly the whole building doesn't have a safety earth connection. So that's quite important. So I'm going to do this board first, but I'm going to plunge myself into darkness So I need an important tool. As you guys know, this is one of my favorites, the Unilight head torch. There'll be a link below where you can get a whopping discount on Unilight stuff. It is amazing, especially for electricians who like to turn people's power off. Right, so now both our main isolators are off, all of our boards are off, basically everything's off. We can safely disconnect our main earthing conductor here, like so. It's very simply a case of popping that on there. We can literally just turn our main switch on and then go on one of these. We've got 0.1 ohms for ZE and 2.36 kA for PEFC. Let me know in the comments if that's correct, and I'll tell you what the correct answer is in a bit. Now, the interesting thing about this property is that we've got the original electrical installation certificate from when the property was built in 2004, and we can see the original earth loop impedance reading, the ZE reading, was 0.05. It's actually gone up a little bit over time. Now, I guess that's probably normal, but to be honest, I don't really know. We are really close to the transformer here. It's literally just behind the building. So it'd be interesting if you guys know anything about that, what kind of deterioration you might see over time, or is it just difference between test meters from when it was tested originally to now. So this burglar alarm system is absolutely doing my nutting, and the guy who we bought this building off said to me that he had like a storm or lightning strike or something, and it seems like it got fried. So first thing I'm going to do is just check this fuse here in the fuse connection unit, and there's a little bit of a trick that I've been seeing on social media recently of how to test these, so let's give it a go. Use your touchpad on your phone or your iPad, and if the element within the fuse, the little fuse wire inside, is intact, the touch sensor will go through from your finger to the screen. If the fuse is broken, it won't. So the fuse is good. If you don't have a little continuity tester to test fuses, that's a little trick to get yourself out of jail free with a very expensive iPad instead. So the fire alarm system is not in use anyway. It looks like this is a 2-zone fire alarm system. As soon as I disconnect this battery, that's all good now. Stops making that annoying noise. Now the next thing that we're going to test is our PSC, or prospective short circuit current, which is basically the maximum amount of current that can flow in the event of a direct short circuit between phases or between phases and neutral. And we're going to test our phase rotation at this point as well. So I'm going to use all 3 leads here. L1 is red, L2 green, L3 blue. And then on here, we've got our voltage, our frequency, and we've also got phase sequence. It says 1, 2, 3, which is exactly what we want it to see. If we swap these 2 phases round, it's going to tell us it's down 3, 2, 1. So the phase rotation is reversed. And what that would cause, if there was an electric motor, a 3-phase motor in this place, the motor would spin backwards, which could be quite dangerous. So phase rotation is important if you do have installations where you've got electric motors. So we're going to take each pair of phases at a time, and we're going to test L1 to L2 first, 0.09 and 4.32 kA. Now we're going to go L2 to L3, 5.6 kA on that. So that's even higher. And then if I do L3 to L1, 4.9 kA. Line to earth, we've got 3.6 to neutral, 3.79. So we take our highest reading, 5.36, and we're going to add that to our certificate. So what I'm doing now is I'm just putting in all the circuit details for these boards, just filling out everything I can do in the schedule of inspections. And the nice thing about this property is that everything's quite neatly labelled, so it does save a lot of time when it comes to actually doing the inspection. In here, what we have to do is go through circuit by circuit, put in the type and rating of all of the circuit breakers. We need to put the type and size of the circuit conductors, and then we can start one by one testing all of the circuits. So when it comes to wiring types, in this property we basically have 2 different types of wiring. There's PVC singles. They are basically single insulated copper conductors. So you've just got the individual brown, blue and green yellow wires that run inside the trunking. You can see that illustrated here. Then the other type of wiring that we've got is PVC twin and CPC cable. That's basically the grey flat sheathed twin and earth cable, as we call it. It's got a live and neutral conductor in it, which are slightly bigger than the CPC or circuit protective conductor, which is in the middle, which is usually bare copper. and you can see that here illustrated as well. So those are two types of wiring that we've got in this property. PVC twin and earth tends to be normal house wiring in general. Singles tend to be used more in commercial industrial setups like this. That is a relief. Another battery disconnected. So now that we've recorded all of our circuit details, the next thing is to start doing some actual testing. So we're going to do our dev tests, which are starting with the R1 and R2 test. That's the earth continuity or continuity of CPC. And to do that, we need these two leads. And what we're going to do is disconnect the line conductor here from the breaker, make a link to the earth bar, and then we're going to test it at the end of line on the circuit. So we're going to start with circuit 1, and that's the roller shutter door. Now, when you're testing CPC continuity, it's really important that you null the leads. So I've nulled the leads now, we've got 0 ohms. And then what we're going to do is test from our earth bar here to phase 1. And we've got a reading of 0.07 ohms, which is a nice low reading. Exactly what we're looking for. Now, while we're going around and testing, it's important not just to test, but actually to visually inspect as well. And when you're doing an inspection, you're really using all your different senses, your touch, your sight, your smell, not necessarily your taste, but sometimes you smell like a burning smell or a fishy smell or something like that, and you know that there's potentially issues. Here I've used my sense of touch. I've just touched the top of the isolator switch, and there's actually a big hole in there. So that is non-compliant, and that would be a C2 on the EICR. It's really easy to fix by just putting what we call a blind or blank grommet in there, just to fix that hole. But to be honest, I'll probably be looking to change this for a better isolator switch anyway, maybe a rotary isolator switch or something like that. So we can probably make some adaptations to the way this is set up, reuse the existing wiring. It's not a long cable run anyway, so we might even end up rewiring the circuit in armoured cable or something like that. So I'm going to just leave it as it is, but just make a note of it. I found something. It was a dodgy plug lead with a bit of twin and earth up above the ceiling, and I think it's actually feeding this old fluorescent tube light, which is a bit bizarre. I don't know what it's there for really. Let me plug it in and see what it does. Oh yeah, we've got a bit of light above the ceiling, that's handy. Now, why on earth they would have installed an old 8-foot fluorescent fitting above the suspended ceiling, I have no idea. Kind of have a clear route now back to the mains. We are getting there. You can see the hot and cold taps. If we follow the hot tap, we should find where the water heater is. Yeah, look, this is the cold, this is the hot. Hot goes above this ceiling. So I'm guessing that there's a hot water tank above this plasterboard ceiling somewhere, which hopefully we can reach from the suspended ceiling on the other side, but gonna have to see. How the heck are you supposed to get to that? That is crazy. Loads of pipe work there as well, like it looks like some kind of pressure tank, and all of it is just hidden behind the boxing. So the water heater is inaccessible behind this plasterboard wall, just down here somewhere. Completely stupid place to put it. I think what's happened is when this unit was built originally, they usually just built with an open shell and a little cubicle for a toilet, which would have had the hot water heater. And then when they built all this, they couldn't be bothered to move it, so they just built around it. So there's the water heater. It's got a little pressure tank, it's got all of these pipes, and that is the floor. Even if they cut a hole in the wall or in the floor, it's going to be really difficult to get to. I should have taken my own advice. I always tell clients, before you buy a property, make sure you do an EICR, because you never know what might be hiding in the woodwork of the wiring. But I didn't take my own advice because I thought I knew better. I looked at it, I took a glance at everything, had a quick poke above the ceilings, I looked at the distribution boards, and I thought, it looks all right. We'll be ripping out most of it anyway, so it'll be fine. But it'll be fine is not good advice. Always do an EICR before you buy a property. You want to put the red one on the live and the green one on the earth wire. Press them nice and hard so that the reading stabilizes. Okay, so you see how it's jumping around a lot? It's just because you're not pressing hard enough. You've got to give it some force. Yeah, there you go. Nice stable reading there, 0.1 ohms. Perfect. Now this is a major C2, what we call potentially dangerous in the world of coding on EICRs. So this forklift charger circuit has been wired in 2.5mm twin and earth cable that's only rated at about 25, 30 amps, and it's on a 40 amp circuit breaker. So it's overrated. Now it's on a 32 amp commando socket there, so in theory it shouldn't pull more than 32 amps. I'm going to look at the data plate on the side of the charger to see how much wattage it actually pulls to work out the ampage, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's only wired in 2.5, so we are going to have to rewire this circuit, unfortunately. Now this is the device that charges the forklift, and on the side it's got this little plate that tells us information about the power consumption of this device. It actually says the rated amps is 21 amps. So I don't know why they've put it on a 40 amp circuit breaker. It could be on a 32 amp circuit breaker or a 25 amp circuit breaker. I'd probably put it on a 32, as it's got a 32 amp commando socket for it, but still it's on the edge whether a 2.5mm cable can support that 32 amp breaker, so I would probably be tending towards rewiring this circuit anyway. So we're just doing the ring continuity testing now. We don't have many ring circuits here, but there's one that I want to test, so I've just been explaining to Jacob how it works. But I've just come across one of my biggest bugbears, which is this, right? They've twisted the wires together, the earth wires, and that means that you've got to untwist them to separate them, which you end up often snapping them off because they've been so tightly twisted together. Really, you should never twist wires together like this for a ring circuit. You should put them in separately, maybe double them over if you're worried about screwing through them and damaging the copper. But twisting them together is just a bad idea. So it's day 2 on this EICR and we've brought in some reinforcements. So Luke's doing his 18th edition course this week. How's it going, Luke?
It's going well. The knowledge is there, it's just whether I can find it in this big old brown book.
Yeah, so you learned your way around the book a bit.
Yeah, I've learned, doing this test has been really helpful. I have learned how to use the book. It's just now breaking it down and just finding the tiny little sections, or basically sentences in those sections basically, so hopefully I'll do all right. Some of the answers are stupid, it's just narrowing it down based in trying to find the two.
There's always questions in there that feel like trick questions. That's what I found, and you're like doubting yourself, like,
it's almost too simple.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid, but then you double down yourself, like, really, could it be that?
Yeah.
So you want a really high reading on this because it shows that there's tons of resistance from the insulation. So here it's showing that there's no path between these, so the insulation is fine. Leatherback turtles are the heaviest type of turtles. Is that not the knowledge you're looking for? I don't know any electrical stuff. I only know turtle facts. Like, they're usually green. Sometimes brown, sometimes in the sea. They lay eggs, but they're not birds. Most useless fact of the day, but here's a fact nonetheless. And it bought me time to put this stupid switch back on the wall. What? Mate, there's a mini milk up in the loft. It keeps going, Callum, by the way. I think this electrician decided to work from home, so he wired it up from home. Like, because this like opens and closes the pins in it. Yeah. Sometimes if they haven't been used in a while and got dust on them, which they definitely have. Yeah, see, it's dropped right down. So Jacob's just going to test the ring circuit at the moment. So we've linked out the figure of 8 here. So just getting on R1, R2. In the meanwhile, I'm just linking out the shower circuit. And then once we've completed these 2 circuits, we're done on both of these boards.
So what have we learnt from this EICR? Well, there were a few shocking finds that I didn't expect, but overall, I'm relieved to know that a lot of the stuff we're going to strip out anyway. We've got a better feeling for the entire building and how it's wired, so we're ready now to take the next step, which is to start stripping out what we don't need and then installing the new stuff that we do need. And there's going to be separate videos about all of those different steps, so make sure you subscribe. And if you're watching this back and the strip out's already happened, the video is going to be up here somewhere for that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.